See, I become like a Tony Robbins motivational speaker. I don't even need the podium anymore. Or what do you call it? A prompter, right? So the beauty of today is that I have nothing but good news for you guys. Because I don't control interest rates, right? No, I really, what I have to share with you that you can use for your benefit, for your personal benefit, for the benefit of your companies, and for the benefit, frankly, of our city, is a tremendous amount of great information. Now, many of you may know or don't know that in the private sector for 14 years I was a real estate attorney. Did you guys know that? I'm not so sure that I ever shared that with you guys. And all of the times that I've had an opportunity to speak to all of you. And I used to love closings. I love closings because my wife, by the way, is a wedding planner. So I always used to say we're both at the most important moment in a person's life. In her case, people are getting married, right? And in my case, when people are buying their first home or buying their first property, and closings are always fun as a lawyer because you're not fighting with people most of the time, right? People are getting paid most of the time, right? The realtors are getting paid, the title company's getting paid, everybody's getting paid, and you're getting to hand over the key to someone of oftentimes their dream home, their dream property. Maybe their only major investment that they make in their life. And so I've always felt a special bond and a special connection with all of you guys. Not just because I spent 14 years of my life in closings with many realtors, some of which sent me business, and I became very close to, but because all of you do something that I do every single day, which is sell our city. You sell our city, you sell our ecosystem, you sell the beauty of it. And so much is happening that's incredible. There's so much to sell. So let me start by saying that in the 6 years that I've been mayor, I started in 2017 in November, and this will be my 6-year anniversary this month. Okay, when I began, the entire taxable value of the city, in other words, the accumulated value of real estate, of property, is Teresa here? Where's Teresa? There you are. Hey, good to see you. I miss you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute.
You've been busy.
I've been a little busy. The entire accumulated value of property in the city of Miami in 2017 was, can anybody guess? I want to get interactive here. Anybody take a guess? Entire real estate value of the city of Miami, all property values. Tax, what we call it tax base. It was 40 billion. Good job, it was pretty close. Do you know what it is today? 80 billion, double. So it doubled, 100% growth, 100% increase in 6 years, in my 6-year term. Yes. Last year we grew 14%. The year before that we grew 12%. And when I say grow, that's a combination of property value appreciation and new construction. In other words, new product that's coming on the market and the value of the existing product going up. So that is a major delta to what's happening across urban cities in America. The second thing that we did with that growth is something that, again, unfortunately isn't happening across cities in America. So we lowered taxes. We lowered your taxes. So last year, I lowered taxes to the lowest level in Miami's history. And this year we did it once again. So, yes. Very important. No state income taxes, you know, but there are property tax, which is the only tax that we charge. We lowered it to the lowest level ever last year, and this year we lowered it again. So then, when you start thinking about what I do, you know, my title in the charter, in the city's constitution, is Chief Executive Officer. But I keep thinking that I'm more like the Chief Ecosystem Officer, because it's not just about running the corporation, the 4,500 employees, the 4 labor unions, the $1.5 billion budget that I have. It's really about all of you. It's about your customers. It's about your clients. It's about the 500,000 or more Miamians and the 2.8 million metropolitan Miamians and the 6 million tri-county Miamians, right? Because if you live in Boca and you go to Sao Paulo or you go to Madrid, do you say, I live in Boca, or you say, I am from Miami? Thank you very much. I'm from Miami. That's right. And so I always say, and I joke with my good friend, they don't call it the Miami Gardens Dolphins. right? So, I'm gonna get heat for that one. But, so we've grown 14%, we reduced taxes, and then you look at other things that define quality of life. When you think about someone like Leo Messi, when you think about someone like Jeff Bezos, right? These are people for which the marginal dollar is not the most important factor in their decision. If they made an extra dollar going extra Y or Z, that's not what's going to motivate them. I mean, Saudi Arabia offered Leo Messi $250 million a year, okay? Barcelona was arguably where his heart was, where he had played the majority of his career. But he chose Miami. And the reason why he chose Miami, I don't know if any of you can guess it, but my guess is the reason why he chose Miami is because he values his most finite asset, his time. The one thing we all share in common. We all share a finite asset. We will live a certain amount of time, and then we will move on. Right? And so that finite asset is what we're really investing, if you really think about it. And so the fact that we're winning that competition in the world, where people who could live anywhere, who could be anywhere, are investing their most precious asset in our city, I think is a testament that we've created the most dynamic ecosystem in the world. But how safe are we? Are we a safe city? Is that something that you can sell? Safety. I know that many of your clients come from other parts of the world where safety is a concern. And I can tell you that if the year were to end today, and it doesn't end today, unfortunately, but if the year were to end today on November 7th, right? We're November 7th. If the year 8th, November 8th. The year were to end today on November 8th, we would have the lowest homicide in recorded history. Okay, recorded history. So put that number in context. We started recording homicides in 1947. And in 1980, we unfortunately hit our high water mark. I don't know how many of you remember the Time magazine cover, Paradise Lost. That's not a good brand. And we had 220 murders in 1980. We were one of the murder capitals of America. This year, we have 24. 90% reduction from our high water mark. And our population is a little bigger than it was in 1980. Okay, in 2024, 44 years later. So we have historic gains in safety, which I think is a really good selling point for all of you. And then when you think about the most vulnerable, right? Because Miami is getting more expensive. That is one thing that we can't sugarcoat. We have hyper demand, tremendous demand we used to have demand from, this area, from Europe and from South America. Now we're getting demand from New York, Illinois, California, and increasingly from places like the Middle East that are looking at the city of Miami, and eventually, hopefully, Asia. So demand is strong. That's the good news. The bad news is that when you have too much demand chasing not enough supply, you have increased prices. And so we're trying to work on the supply side, right? We have the ability to grow. If I can give you one statistic that you could use and that you could know, it's that our future, right? How would you project into the future? When you're buying something, when you're moving your business, you're projecting into the future. Is this a good neighborhood? Is it going to be a good place to raise my children? Is this going to be a place where I can thrive, where my business will grow? The delta, the difference between what's built and what can be built in the city of Miami is a 10-to-1 multiple. Meaning that we can grow 10 times larger than what we are, 10x. Without any changes to our zoning code. So that we have what's called the form-based zoning code, meaning we have invisible boxes that sit on top of our buildings. And you can build up to the top of those invisible boxes without ever having to come to government to get anything other than just a permit. So that's a unique feature of our zoning code, and it really bodes well for our future growth. So we will be able to grow, we will be able to have supply. And we have to continue to get creative on affordable housing. There are multiple levels of affordable housing. I don't know how much you guys know about the specifics of it, but there are 3 basic categories. One that's called ELI. ELI is called extremely low income. Extremely low income, and that's basically 30% of the area median income. In other words, the median income is the average income of the area, and it's at the 30% of that level. So if the median income is $55,000 or $70,000, depending on the area, it's 30% of that number is the income category you're trying to target for housing, and it's 30% of that number. So it's 30% of the income number, which is 30% of the median number. Then you have what's called traditional affordable housing. Traditional affordable housing is somewhere in the vicinity of 50 to 80% of area median income. So it's still below area median income, right? Somewhere in the 50 to 80% range. And that is done, both of those are done typically with a significant amount of government subsidy, right? So it's very, very difficult to get to those income levels to be able to produce at a profit, because everybody needs to make a profit at the end of the day, unless you're doing it as a nonprofit. And even if you're doing it as a nonprofit, you have to pay your employees, right? So even if you're doing it on a nonprofit basis, everyone's got to be able to hit those targets. To hit those targets, you need government help. And so for every dollar that we invest in the city of Miami, when interest rates were low, like remember I told you at the beginning, full warning, I don't control interest rates, right? When interest rates were low, we were getting a $20 leverage. So for every dollar we invested, the developer would put in $20 through equity, through debt, through other grants, and through through land value. So now the rates are a little higher. We're probably going to get closer to 10-to-1 leverage rate. So we're trying to use the dollars that we have, stretch them as much as we can to create as much product in that income category. Because that income category oftentimes is our parents, our grandparents, etc. People who are hurting. The third category is what they call workforce housing. This is traditionally nurses, first responders. Why don't we give it up for our police officers? They look really good in their plastic uniforms, right? In uniforms and good. But they have the hardest job in America, guys. I know that realtors think that they have the hardest job in America. I think police officers have the hardest job. There's no job where they take more risk for less money with more scrutiny. And that's a risk to their life. And with all due respect, when I call 911, I don't want a realtor to answer the phone. Love you guys, but I don't want a realtor to answer when I call 911. So, as I was saying, we have affordable housing, we have extremely low income, then we have workforce housing. Workforce housing is somewhere between 80 and 120, 140% of the area median income. So it could be slightly above the area median income, slightly below the area median income. And this is one of those categories where you can play with it a little bit, and it's possible to build it without government subsidy. So it's possible that if a developer bought the land inexpensively enough and does sort of value engineering on this process, they could do it. The Meadows are one good example. They do a lot of stuff in the Edgewater area that was traditionally what I would call naturally occurring affordable housing, right? It's affordable, it's natural, we don't touch it, by and large, we don't invest in it. Sometimes we do stuff on the entitlement side to support it and to make it work from a financial perspective. We'll give them a little bit more density, we'll give them a little bit more height, something like that. So we're working on that. That's a pain point for us for sure. We feel it, we understand it, we're not putting our head in the sand that doesn't exist. On resiliency, we spent and will continue to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to make Miami the most water resilient city on the planet. We're already the most wind resilient city on the planet. Everybody has impact windows, right? So we want to make sure that we can deal with water phenomena. And right now in the city of Miami, I can't speak for the entire county, but for the city of Miami, we were downgraded by FEMA in risk, which means that everyone gets an 8% savings on their flood premiums in the city of Miami based on our investment. So that's good news, right? Very good news. But the reason why it's good news is when people start counter-branding Miami from New York, where the taxes are high, the crime is high, and the homelessness is high, right? What do they say? We're going to be underwater, right? I mean, that's the only thing they can say. I mean, that's about it. So they say we're going to be underwater. We're not going to be underwater. People have existed, by the way, below sea level for hundreds of years. So if we were ever in a situation where we're not below sea level, but if we ever were below sea level, we still would not be underwater. Okay? So don't let people fool you, or don't let someone counter-brand you with the we're going to be underwater narrative, which is not true. And even if it were true, we still wouldn't be underwater. So our real estate is safe. Our flood premiums are coming down slightly. And that, by the way, that's a struggle that the state has to continue to grapple with. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, just like I don't control interest rates, I don't control insurance premiums. We're gonna do what we can to be as resilient as possible. The state has given us money. Republicans have funded. Not to make it Republican, Democrat thing, but they have funded. I do get a lot of questions when I go on national television, Republicans don't believe in this and that and the other. I go, well, I don't know whether they believe in it or not, but they fund it. so they must believe in it. And let me tell you, I always talk about semantics. Semantics are really important in political conversations. Sometimes people don't want to talk about climate change, and that's fine, or whatever, but they sure understand flooding. Everybody understands flooding, right? That's a very common way of describing a problem. And as mayors, we gotta solve the problem. There's just we can't blame somebody, we can't argue about it, we can't debate it, we just gotta solve it. So we're doing phenomenally well we're trying to do the best we can on housing. We're doing well on resiliency. And the last thing I would say is we are a compassionate city. I think one of the things that's beautiful about the real estate community and realtors is that they're very passionate people. They care about their client, they care about the product they're selling, they care about the community. And for us, we care about the most vulnerable. Right now we have 534 unsheltered homeless in the city of Miami. That's 534 too many, but 534 is a great number. And we want to be the first major urban city in America to have zero. And I feel very confident that we're going to get there. And there's been a lot of work on this, and we're going to continue to work, and we're going to continue to think outside of the box, and we're going to continue to fund and create permanent housing for our homeless, because we believe in compassion. We have some great organizations like Lotus House that helps women who are battered and children. We have these phenomenal organizations in our city, and I want you to tout that. I want you to sell that, because I think compassion is something worth selling. That we care about people, that we want to take care of people, that we're not a city that's overwhelmed by people who are in the most desperate state. I think is something that says a lot about who we are as people, our fabric, our moral fabric. And so, in a nutshell, that's why Miami rocks. So, we got a couple of minutes. Maybe we can ask a couple questions, if that's okay with you, Teresa. Or you wanna...